Welcome to the Odds Breakers, number one place for shared, sharp betting information.
All right, welcome back to podcast 39 of 2020. I'm your host, Kiev O'Neill. You can follow us on Twitter at The Odds Breakers. Follow us on social media / The Odds Breakers. This episode is being brought to you by MyBookie.ag for a 50% sign-up bonus. Please visit MyBookie and use the promo code The Odds Breakers. Terms and conditions apply. If you'd like to help us out with our costs and sponsor the website and podcast, we'd love to help you out. Please visit theoddsbreakers.com and click shop and become a member for $17.99 a month. You can get my plays and premium plays before the line moves. If nothing else, please visit theoddsbreakers.com and become a free picks newsletter subscriber. My friends, we had a fantastic weekend. Baseball's been back. The UFC's been killing it. Hit 3-1, all plus money plays. Baseball, we are started at 8-3. Just having a great time in the opener of the season, and the UFC has just been so fun. Let's hope we can keep this winning streak going here. But we have some good plays for you today because Cub Fan Danny is back to break down some of this UFC events. We're going to talk about this weekend, UFC 175. We have Derek Brunson versus Edmund Shabazian, and that's going to be a fantastic main event, and there's some great fights on this card as well. We also have D Nasty back to break down some of the key positions in your fantasy football draft: wide receivers, quarterbacks, a little bit about kickers, and a rookie top 15 fantasy draft. So can't wait to get into that. So before we get into that, we did have a question about the NBA from Cade Krall at CCRALL4. He wanted to know if the Lakers to win the championship is worth it at plus 250. And I had to say that no, those are not good odds, especially when it comes to situations like this where everybody's playing in a bubble. A lot more variance can happen here. We've never seen anything like this before. But at the same time, plus 250 isn't that good anyway, because there's much better ways to get odds. If you like the Lakers, if you think they're the best, in my opinion, the price should be about plus 500 if they are the best team in the NBA. Now, I don't cap the NBA myself. I know how to. It's just not my favorite sport. And there's a lot of things that can happen with players, especially this year. But, just throughout the season, some players will sit like at the last minute and rest. You never know that. So I just don't love it myself. But he did ask about the Lakers. And I said a better way to do it would be a money line series rollover. Okay, so with a money line series rollover, you're probably going to get about plus 500, plus 600 on the Lakers instead of plus 250. So, for example, the first playoff series, that series is probably going to be minus 400 at least for the Lakers to win. It might be minus 350, it might be minus 600, I don't know. But I'm just going to go with minus 400 here. So you do that series, and then you take the winnings plus your initial bet, you add it together, and then you roll it over to the next bet. Then the next series would be minus 225. Let's say it's against the Houston Rockets or something. Minus 225 for the Lakers to win that series. And then if they win that, you take your winnings plus the initial bets that you had in, add them together, put it on the next series, which would be maybe the Clippers or something at minus 120, or might even be even money. You got Kawhi Leonard there, so going to be a great series. And by then, if the Lakers win that series, you're probably going to play the Bucks or something, and your series might be like minus 130. You take all that money accumulated from before and put it on the Lakers, or you have options. Maybe you can take some profit and just put half on it. So that's why the Moneyline Series rollover, in my opinion, works much better in basketball for some of these very heavy favorites. In my opinion, this year, I I wouldn't touch any favorite better than plus 1,000. So, or worse than plus 1,000, I should say, just because in hockey, in basketball, baseball, everything like that, it's just so up in the air with this pandemic going on. So hopefully, Kate, I answered your question there. And if anyone else has any questions, please feel free to tweet us at the Odds Breakers. I also want to say thank you to all you all out there, premium subscribers especially, have been reaching out to me. Some just general listeners on our nice little wing streak that we've been having. 9-2 in the UFC the last 11 plays. Baseball started out great at 8-3. So thank you. I never get tired of hearing that, by the way. And I also would love to hear from you guys. If you ever have any plays, I can't handicap everything out there. If you find something that I might have overlooked or anybody could have overlooked, maybe you don't even know if I've handicapped the game, I'd love to hear from you. Just let me know what you like. Maybe you're going to give me a tip for it. Maybe I can give you an opinion on it. Maybe I might talk you off something. I don't know. I just love talking about sports betting. So thank you for all of your input. It is greatly appreciated. And now to get into our podcast here, we're going to start right off with the UFC Fight Night 175 with Cub Fan Danny. All right, and now it is time to talk a little UFC 175, Fight Night 175, and we have our UFC specialist, Mr. Cub Fan Danny, to break down a little bit of this card. You can follow him on Twitter at Cub Fan Danny. My friend, how the heck are you doing this week?
Fantastic, man. Hey, sorry I missed it last week, but you absolutely killed it. Good job last weekend.
Oh, well, the sun shines on a dog's ass every once in a while, my friend. I found some what would you say, some diamonds in the rough? What'd you say? Diamonds when they're all plus money, diamonds in the rough, and they turned out really well. And so I was really happy about that.
You
so
should have went undefeated, because that last fight, there's no way Nogueira lost that fight, but it is what it is, right? That's why you don't let it go to decision.
Well, I had ruled a win in the distance, so within the distance, so that it would have I would have lost anyway.
Okay, all right.
Nogueira did great though. I mean, respectful fighter, hard to go against him, but he fought his ass off, and I was proud of him. I was very proud of him, and it was a great showing, I thought, myself.
I was so busy I didn't have time to get on Twitter and really tweet things, but, having that conversation with you, just saying Nogueira, his last fight and how much respect that they have for him there. And it didn't look like Shogun was really going that hard on him, right? And he probably should have finished him, but I think all that respect there really made that fight go to 3 rounds. But he probably could have finished him a long time ago, which would have been a great play for you. And in my head, I'm thinking, look, his last fight, they're going to give him the decision. He's going to do something there. And I didn't, obviously right. I lost that one too. But yeah. It is what it is. Hey, look, at the end of the day, it was a great weekend for you and great job.
Yeah, thank you. We are in a crazy 9-2 run right now. And so a lot of that is because of you. So thank you very much on that, man. And I got to tell you, Danny, while all these players in different sports are starting to hold out for seasons, you're starting to see a little bit in college. Everyone's worried that the seasons are not even going to take place. People with their fantasy football is going nuts right now. You can always count on the UFC and Dana White, my man. Yep. We are going to be going hard with the UFC, and it's just a great. It's just a great sport. I fell in love with the UFC over boxing probably about 5 years ago, man. And I every year I like it even more and more. And I've worked on my handicapping. You've given me lots of tips, and I got to tell you, it's just been so much fun. And I'm so happy we have this. It's like it feels special in a way. So hopefully we can dig into this card a little bit and find some value. So what are your thoughts on these fighters?
Yeah, listen, just to kind of piggyback off of that, I think UFC is the hardest one to handicap because anything can happen at any time, right? You really have to do some good homework here. I would love to go down the list and give you guys 8 picks, but I really want to make sure that I'm doing the best I can to handicap whatever I'm doing, right? And look, you go to any particular fight, and there's 15 fights going on at one, in one night, so it is really difficult, but so much fun, right? And you can do really, really well, and you're proving it, and I'm proving it week after week. So, yeah, this weekend's going to have some great fights. Being out in Abu Dhabi, it is, I'm still a little bit nervous about it, right? I mean, guys aren't in their home country. There's no fan support, right? They're just fighting in the ring. Are these guys going there for a paycheck? How hard are they working out at home? That really still making it a little bit difficult to see what's going on, because a lot of these guys are not training Kiev. They're training in their house, right? They're training very little because the gyms are closed, right? So
absolutely.
It makes it, who's going to show up, right? You got to do the best that you can with their past history, what their training has been like before, how they've done before. So a lot of those things come into factor here when they're fighting over there in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, well, at least this one's back in Las Vegas, my man. And that's going to be at the UFC Apex. And so it's kind of like back right at home. Everybody's, still not going to have the crowds, of course. But maybe I
think it's going to be helpful.
Yeah,
for a lot of these guys.
It should be helpful. Exactly. Especially
not having to travel. So, yeah, I mean, and considering they brought a lot of guys in from out of the country, like from Brazil and things like that, I think that there's going to be some really good fights on this card, and people are going to see some new guys coming up and having a good time. So,
all right, my man. And, people from Brazil are used to fighting in Vegas. In Abu Dhabi, nobody was. So, great points there. Let's talk a little bit about the first fight here, and I'll start, Danny, if that's okay. I'm going right to the girls, my man. Right to the girls on the main card. We got Joanne Calderwood versus Jennifer Maia here, and you can shop it around a little bit. Calderwood's like around a minus 150, and Maia is right around a plus 125 right now. Not sure exactly how that's going to finish out. It's probably going to bounce a little bit back and forth, but I already think I might have found a play here, and I want to go over it with you. So we're looking at Maia. You look at these fighters face to face. Maia Calderwood's got 2 inches on Maia. Okay, 2 inches. Obviously, they're about the same weight. Calderwood's got about 1.5 inches of reach on her. They're both orthodox fighters. One thing that I love to look at, and it's been working for me this past year and a half, 2 years, is the significant strikes landed per minute. And if these are going to be both standing fighters, I think it's a lot more important, because if you're going one against a grappling fighter, then it makes it a little bit tougher to figure out what's going to happen in a fight. But she has 6.19 significant strikes landed per minute to Maia's 4.05. Her striking accuracy is 48%. And Maia's is 38%. And if you even look towards the grappling side, towards the wrestling side, her takedown average is 1.85 per 15 minutes, and Maia's is only 0.25 here. Looking at these fighters, Maia, she's all right. She only had 4 UFC fights, and she's 2-2 in the UFC. Her total is 4 KOs, 4 submissions. And she also had six losses. So she's 17-6. So not great. And you have Calderwood that's 14-4. But Calderwood has a lot more experience under her belt. She's been in the UFC longer. I think that's important. It's very important to look at here. I was going to say Maia also had 9 decisions. I missed that one. But anyways, Calderwood, you're looking at a fighter that had 5 KOs, 1 submission, 8 decisions. Hey, this fight's probably going to go to a decision, in my opinion. I think the odds on it are saying it's going to go into a decision, because if you look at over 1.5 rounds is minus 833, and fight goes to decision is minus 365. Now, there's no value for that. There's even no value to bet one of these fighters to win in the decision. It only moves the spread like 10 cents or so. But what I do like is that Calderwood has the experience here. She's fought in some pretty good fighters like Lipsky, Andrea Lee. I like what she's done, and I like the fact that she has a ton of UFC experience. She's bigger, And in my opinion, she's going to win this fight. I like how she strikes. I like it at minus 150. I don't think you're paying a premium for that. I think that's a pretty good, fair assessment here for a bigger and taller fighter, way better at striking. Neither fighter can submit each other. I'm loving this play. I'm taking her for 3 stars. I'm probably going to be a premium play that I'm sharing with the public. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm going to tell you, Maya missed her last 2 weigh-ins, right? And pretty bad. 2 fights ago when she fought Roxanne, who was one of the best fighters in the women's division. She was weighted at 129 instead of 125. Then in their next fight, she was at 127.2, which she lost. Look, I wouldn't even sleep on her either, Jennifer Maia, because she has fought some good ladies. Like Liz Carmouche and Roxanne, who she beat her twice. So she's no pushover. My biggest concern is with her weight, right? Where is she at? Is she going to be weighing in at that 125 where she should be, or is she going to be over? That could be beneficial for her as well, because Calderwood is a little bit of a smaller gal, and Maya's a little bit of a bigger gal, right? So that weight difference could help out in terms of the fight. But how much weight does she have to cut in Maya, and how is she going to do? So that's my biggest concern with her. But you're probably right. This is probably going to go to a decision. It's their record, it's their MO, it's their history. So if I'm looking at it, for me, I'm not gonna play it, but I could see where you're coming from going the distance on that.
Yeah, it'll go the distance for sure, but just to be safe, I'm just going to take Calderwood herself. She has got the measurements on Maya, but Maya's, yes, bigger. She's heavier, right? And she needs to make weight. And if she can't make weight the last couple fights, if she does, this weight cut might hurt her a little bit, in my opinion. Yeah. So that's my first play. So why don't you bring up a fight that you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, so I'm kind of going through all these fights here, and there's some guys that are overrated, there's some guys that are underrated, and it's consistently like that. It's so funny. You can get some really good value on some of these guys, and some of these guys you're going to get terrible value on, right? So to me, when I look at Randy Brown against Vicente Luque, this fight is prime for an underdog to take. Okay, and looking at this fight, it opened up Kiev at Randy Brown was a plus 185. I think the sharps jumped on it pretty quick. Now you're only getting him at plus 160. And Vicente Luque was at like a minus 210. Now he's at minus 185. So when you look at these guys, Vicente Luque's never been a dog ever in the UFC. He comes in with a lot of hype, and Randy Brown's a guy that people are sleeping on. He's got really good stand-up game. He's getting better every single fight. He's doing something different every single fight, and he's learning the game. A lot of these guys are coming in with this great background and these gyms that they're fighting in. Randy Brown has just started, so he's taken some beatings in the beginning, but you got to see his last few fights. I mean, he really looked good. His last fight against he went to Brazil. Right? Enemy territory, against Alves. He was taking a beating the first round, and he had massive heart. He came back and submitted him in the second round. I was so impressed by the young guy. Then his next fight the fight before that, he was a huge dog. He came in and beat the snot out of Brian Barberena. He just impressive. And here comes Vicente Luque, a guy that everybody knows his name. He up, and he's been taking some beatings himself. He hasn't always looked good. So when I look at this fight, I'm saying Randy Brown, to me, is very comparable to who Vicente Luque just fought in Stephen Thompson, where he took a beating and he lost. Very athletic, long strikes, in and out, and he took a massive beating. I can compare Randy Brown to a much younger Stephen Thompson. So to me, when I look at this, I'm saying there's some really good value here. You got a guy that's plus money, that's just as good as Vicente Luque, and to me, this should be minus 120, maybe plus 105, right, for Randy Brown. when I look at this and I'm looking at that plus 185 right now, to me, you gotta jump all over that.
That's interesting. And Stephen Thompson, I remember when he beat Jorge Masvidal. That was pretty shocking back in 2017. That was one of his signature wins. But if you look at, his since then he's lost to Darren Till, which is we just saw fight, right?
Knocked out, yeah.
And he was pretty good, but Till just lost. And Anthony Pettis, then he lost to Pettis, and Pettis obviously is a big name. And then he beat Vicente Luque, as you said. So
it beat him good, gave him a beating.
Yeah, he absolutely did. Now, when I look at the metrics here, Luque, 28 years old. Randy Brown is 30 years old, so nothing really to go by there. Luque 18-7, Randy Brown 12-3. Luque does land more significant strikes per minute at 5.66, and Brown's at 3.41. I looked at this fight hard, and I couldn't find anything. I was kind of leaning Luque until you talked about that a little bit. I even tried to find a play on the total. I actually wrote take it to go to decision at plus 130, and then I crashed. Then I scratched it out. I just did a little deeper dive, and I couldn't get there, man. I just couldn't because and now on Luque's side of it, he might be able to knock some people out, but I don't know if he's going to knock out Randy Brown. I think that Randy Brown has a lot more stamina, and Randy Brown has made it to decision a lot of fights. If you look at some of his bigger fights, Mickey Gall goes to decision. He did lose to Mohammed, but he went to decision in that one. And, it can go either way is what I'm trying to say.
But he's been learning every single – if you see a guy that does the same thing over and over, every single fight, looks exactly the same, doesn't change anything, then – yeah, look, then it's going to be Vicente all day long. But Brown has just looked really, really good his last few fights, and you can tell that he made adjustments, made changes, and he's willing to learn. And he's really, like I said, he's learning on the fly here, right? It's not like he's been doing this a long time, right? His first professional fight was in 2014, right? But he didn't make it to the UFC until 16. So he's only been here a couple of years, and he's got some good fights under his belt, and he's taken some losses, but you know what? He's learning, which is what you want to see, and getting better and adjusting and changing. And Vicente Luque, go look back at all his fights. They're just nice guys that he's fought.
Mike Perry, man, we love Mike Perry. Come on, he beat Mike Perry.
It doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that he's a great fighter. You love Mike Perry, but doesn't mean he's a great fighter, right? Nico Price, to me, is another guy, right? He lost to Stephen Thompson, one of the top guys, but he's already old. And he beat some guys in there, I get it, but nobody that you're going to say, wow. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And he hasn't been fighting the top competition, and when he has Stephen Thompson, Leon Edwards, right? So, and he's lost to those guys.
All right, so you say a small play on Randy Brown. I'm going to sit this one out. And Randy Brown hasn't fought since November, not terribly long ago, but a little bit of ring rust there maybe. I don't know. Vicente Luque has fought as recent as May, I believe.
Yeah.
And so that is what worries me about Brown. So I'm going to watch this one and see what happens. But I like what you're saying there. Maybe Randy Brown's going to explode in this one. Sounds good. Let's move on to the next fight here. And I do want to tell you that I looked at Bobby Green and Lando Veneta, and I got to tell you, these guys suck. They suck. I don't even want to bet on them, man. I mean, if you look, the records are like 11-4-2, and Bobby Green's 25-10-1. Well, most of those fights that Bobby won, he wasn't even in the UFC. It's like when you look at the UFC record for Bobby Green, I'm going to pull it up here and it'll take a second. It is not good whatsoever. And I was trying to find, some value because that's what our job is, right? Find some value. And in the UFC, let's just start out. He won his first 4 fights against a couple nobodies, and then he lost to Edson Barboza, Dustin, which he is. And then Dustin Poirier,
great fighter.
Yeah, Rashid. I mean, then he does a split decision. That's 4 non-wins in a row. He did he did have a draw, not a split decision against Lando Veneta, and then he won against Eric Koch, and then lost 2 more fights, and then finally won his last one against Clay Guida. So it's like his UFC has not been that great, you know?
Yeah, and he would have lost that fight against Lando the first time, but Lando had a point taken away for an illegal knee.
Right, exactly. And it became a draw, and that's why this is the rematch here. Yeah. Lando he looks like that goofy guy that knows karate, man. I don't know. He's an interesting looking dude. They're both 28 years old, and he has the same kind of record. He's got 2 draws, Bobby Green and Matt Frivola. So it's like, you look, it's a lot of red, a lot of losses his last fights, and he's only he's fought in the UFC since 2016. He's probably got about.
He's fought some good guys too. Tony Ferguson.
Yeah.
Jakar Close, another guy, Yancy Medeiros, who he just won. Yancey's a real good fighter. So he's fought some guys too. So don't think that he's not a baller here. So, I have not been. I'll tell you 100%. I have not been impressed with Bobby Green at all. I've just been very disappointed in him. I stay away from all his fights, not betting on him, I should say. I just have not been.
Yeah. And looking at the fight odds here with Green, plus 125, Veneta is minus 145. I suppose that's probably right, but there's nothing there for me. These guys, I don't know. It'll probably go the distance, and I guess the distance is being priced at minus 245. So they're saying it's going the distance, just like I did. So
listen, their first fight, he was a minus 260, and Bobby Green was a plus 180. Right now it's minus 175, plus 150. But this could end the UFC for either one of these cats.
Oh. Well, they're pretty young, they're pretty young, but maybe their lack of success might take them out.
Yeah. I mean, after a while, they kind of look at them and say, "Listen, you can't win here, right? We got to let you go." And who's got their back? They both got their back against the wall, and who's going to come out and win it, right? So.
I'm not going to take a piss during this one. That's what I was going to do. I was going to take a piss during this one.
I mean, I probably will, but
you might catch it. All right. Well, we DVR all our fights anyway, so no worries.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, so just wanted to mention that and throw it out there. I tried to find a play, but could not for that one. So why don't I move on to the next fight here? Is actually should be the opener here. Kevin Holland versus Trevin Giles. And this fight is pretty interesting to me. Kevin Holland is age 27. He is 17-5, 8 KOs, 6 submissions, 3 decision. Trevin Giles is 5 KOs, 5 submissions, 2 decisions. And Giles is plus 185, and Kevin Holland is minus 210. So obviously I look at that, I say pretty decent favorite, made it across the 200 threshold. Let's take a look here and see what's going on. Well, just from a metrics standpoint, Kevin Holland's a bigger guy. He's 3 inches taller than Giles. He's got a 7-inch reach advantage over Giles. That's just like, whoa, that's pretty big. And he's a big, lanky guy, Kevin Holland is, Significant strikes per minute, 4.29 for Holland and 3.61 for Giles. Significant strikes accuracy, 55% for Holland and 56% for Giles. Really nothing there. They're kind of equal there. Takedown average is really close. Just looking at takedown accuracy, I give that one to Giles. When I look at see who they fought here, I feel that Holland is kind of that guy that knows how to win the fight. In my opinion, I feel like he's just got that more experience there, and that's why his average fight time has been a little bit higher lately. And sorry, my computer's freezing up. I'm trying to pull up some numbers on him if you want to chime in real quick on this.
Yeah. When I look at it, right, I mean, his last fight he did win by the TKO, right, with the knees and punches. So he took care of business in the first round. Before that, he was submitted in the second round. But before that, we're talking about decision, 3 rounds, another 3 rounds. He went almost a full 3 rounds with John Phillips before he submitted him. So another decision before that. So yeah, he looks like a guy that's going to go a decision, right?
Yeah.
Has he fought the top guys? No. But I think here's another guy that they're looking to build up here a little bit. He's got some decent wins under his belt.
Yeah, he lost to Santos. Thiago Santos was probably the best fighter he's fought, and Santos just lost to John Jones, and before that he only had just a couple losses before that. But Santos is a big, tough guy, you know, and I gotta tell you, he had some pretty good fights, but I just think on his card he has more experience than Giles does. Now Giles has only 5 UFC fights so far, and he is 3-2. I don't see any too big of names here.
Well, he did fight some great guys like Zach Cummings. He lost to Gerald Mearshak, which also Kevin Holland.
And it's a loss. I meant to say is a wins. I don't see a lot of big wins here.
Really, the only guy that he really fought was James Krause, and James Krause he's nice, but he's just another guy, right?
Right.
So listen, you're looking at common fighters, Gerald for both of them, and Kevin Holland did beat Gerald Mearshak, so in a split decision. So. Yeah, to me, Kevin Holland is the play here if you're going to go straight.
Yeah, I am, actually, and thank you for leading me into that. So his average fight time's higher, as you can see, for the last one. And when I'm looking at Trevin Giles, he seems to be going to the third round a lot. His last 4 fights went to the third round. His last one was a decision where he beat Cross, and he's won with some KOs and a couple submissions, but they're usually later, and especially when it comes to the UFC fighting. So there's a good chance this goes to decision here. But in the meantime, I do like the -210 here for 2 stars, and I think that should be a winner for you.
Good. I like the play.
Going to decision is -110. So, hey, if that's what, if that's my lean right now, I'm not going to put that as a play right now, but I'm going to lean -110 for the decision. What do you have next, Danny?
It's the last fight. To me, it's the last fight. Edmund Shabazian. Well, what do I always tell you? Be careful with hype. Last time I didn't go against my own advice and took a loss, right? And I didn't like that. But Edmund Shabazian, man, he looks really good. You look at his last fights. I mean, he's taking guys out.
Yeah,
it's not even a question like, was it clean? Did he just get the? I mean, he's taking guys out, right? I mean, Brad Tavares KO with the head kick first round. Jack Marshman, first round. Charles Bird, first round, right? So he's taking guys out, and he's taking them out quickly, right?
Right.
But he's going up against a guy that's fought everybody, right? And here's a guy that's, he was a veteran, right? He's fought for the belt. He's fought for, he's fought guys that are the best of the best. Israel Adonijah, right? Ronaldo Sousa, Lyoto Machida, Dan Kelly, Anderson Silva, Robert Whitaker, Uriah Hall. These are all the guys that he fought.
Huge
Sam
guys.
Alvey, Ed Herman, Yoel Romero. The list goes on and on. Chris Lieben, right? The list goes on and on and on and on. He's never going to be a champ, but he's never going to be a punk, right?
Right.
So when I look at this fight, the odds are, I mean, it's ridiculous at what Edmund is at, right? Because of a lot of the hype, right? And I tell you about
minus
the hype.
310, man, and that's grown. I mean, since it's been out in earlier July, that thing was a lot lower. And just looking at when I click on Edmund at minus 330 now on 5 dimes, he was at minus 240 back on July 7th for this fight itself.
Yeah.
And it's just grown all the way to minus 330. Now that is some serious hype.
Yeah,
agreed with you there.
I can't lay that type of juice, right? So here's what I'm seeing in this fight, right? I have a gut feeling that when this fight happens, Derek Brunson is going to make the boringest fight in the world and use his wrestling, right? Wear the kid out. First round, right? Mm-hmm. Derek Brunson lays on him 1 round, 2 round, 3 round. It's not going to be that easy to knock somebody out, right? It's going to be very difficult, very
dragging, man.
Dragging, boring, right? So to me, for Brunson to win this fight, it's going to be that really boring fight, but it's going to have to be his strategy. Wrestle him to death, take him down over and over and over again. Now, Shabazian has shown that he could, somebody takes him down who's not experienced as a wrestler, he gives them the beating and he knocks him out. But again, this is one of the best guys out there, right?
Right.
So there's definitely some plays. Over 2.5 rounds is a plus 200 right now, right? Over a round and a half, plus 104, you can get it at. Fight starts the 3rd round, plus 145, right? You don't have to drop the minus 330 on Edmund. You could play these rounds and say, you want to know what? If I believe that Derek Brunson is going to win this and win it by decision, you can play all these things going down, bunch of smaller plays, and have fun with it by counting down those rounds and seeing your money stack up over and over and over again, and still put money on Brunson to win in a decision, right? Because you can get Brunson wins by decision at plus 550.
Wins by decision, yeah, that's huge. Yeah, that's. I mean, Brunson might submit him though too. I mean, plus 255. If you're going that direction, plus 255 is not bad at all, man. You know, it's kind of like that Werdum odds last week, and that we won on plus 285. That, I mean, same like thought. Like Gustafsson was massively overrated, right? And like Werdum, you know, he's 42, but the dude has fought everybody. I'm like, this guy might just beat the shit out of him, and he did. You know, so this could be it. But what scares me is Shabazian. He's really kick people's asses, and we saw that last fight. I watched it earlier today against Brad Tavares. I watched it again where he kicks him in the head, knocks him freaking right out. He's got some great stand up, that Edmund. You know, you look at his fights. His average fight time is 2 minutes, pretty much 2 minutes and 20 seconds or something. You know, just ridiculous, and that's why all the hype has happened. But Tavares is more of a tier 2, borderline tier 3 fighter, where Derek Brunson is a borderline tier 1, tier 2 fighter. I mean, he's stepping up in some serious class right here. So,
I mean, he's getting him at 36 years old, right? So, you know, it's not like he's getting Brunson at 30 years old, right? He's getting an older Brunson, so that should be helpful for him, right?
Yeah.
He's not in his prime anymore. He's kind of over the prime part. But, you know, to me, this is the classic overhype, right? And people are going to be excited to bet on him, and you're going to end up being crap. Why didn't I see this coming from the beginning?
Right. And this is the main event, of course. You know, 36 years old to 22 years old. You can't look. I wrote the metrics down a little bit, but you can't look at it. You know, significant strike is 30, accuracy 53% to 46%. Of course, Edmund's going to show higher because he hasn't fought anybody. You know, I mean, you can't compare these stats. Who cares if he's getting 6.77 significant strikes per round to 2.8. Brunson has fought the serious competition. You know, you can't use that here in this situation, in my opinion. You know,
I think it's the classic Johnny Walker, right? Johnny Walker, he was a guy that I fell in love with the guy fighting. He was just so much fun, right? Knocking out Roundtree, Justin Leaded, knocking him out, knocking out the next guy, and he goes in against Corey Anderson as a massive favorite, and I go, I'm taking him, and here we go, Corey Anderson took him out with a flying knee, right? And then he lost again. So he was taken down real quick with his overhypeness, right? And now he's just another guy. It almost feels the same type of feeling, only because of who he's fought and how long his fights have gone, where people are just seeing the quick knockouts. the big fights, but he hasn't fought against the guys that are top tier.
Right. And that's why this price is wrong. Now, and what I said before, I meant to say takedown average 6.77 to 2.8. His strikes are a little bit closer, 4.1 to 3.4 for Brunson landed per minute. So the way that I'd play this, if you have to play the main event, and I have not given out a play on this at all, and I'm not even sure I will because I'm not seeing a ton of value. I'm kind of still talking myself into. I'm going to watch a few more of Brunson's fights before I make a decision. I would play Brunson, like you said, Danny, just to win at plus 255. Hell, he might just shock the shit out of Edmund and put him in a freaking rear naked choke or something, right? And then I would possibly toy around with Edmund Shabazian to win like he has been winning in the first round. As long as you're getting plus money on both sides, you're kind of safe there. Of course, if Edmund wins in the second or the third, or if it goes to decision and he wins, then you lose anyway. But his price is just wrong at minus 310. It's too much. I cannot tell people to take that, Danny.
Minus 330 right now, Kiev.
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah.
That is going, it's getting worse. Again, that hype machine on there is, to me, is scary. There's a lot of fun things on there. 7.5 minutes is nothing. If it's going 7.5 minutes, which is a round and a half, it's going 10 minutes. It's going to go 10.5. And I'm telling you, my gut is telling me it's going to be a very boring fight because Brunson's going to just wear him down. We've never seen Shabazian go past round one, right?
He did once, and it was his first UFC fight.
Yeah, and I'm not even considering that, right? Because I'm looking at it.
You're looking at the rest, the important stuff,
right? He's knocking people out so quick, so you don't know how his stamina is. You don't know how he's going to be when he's got some type of uphill battle he's got to climb, right?
Right.
We don't know any of those things,
right?
So what's a smart, older, seasoned veteran fighter going to do? Wear him down.
Yeah,
Take him down.
He will.
Use his strength. Use his wrestling. He wants to stand up, he'll stand up, and he's going to take him down again. So that's my gut.
No.
And I think that'd be a fun play, especially if you're having a great night.
Yeah, I like your thoughts. You don't even have to make a play on this thing until late because it's the main event. Think about it. If you're having a bad night, maybe you just watch the fight.
Yeah.
If you're up 3-4 units, hell, throw a half unit on the over 1.5, like Danny says, and over 2.5, over 3. Just like Danny, who cares? Just kind of build up on that a little bit and see what happens. Just kind of hit it in right before the fight starts, those overs, and maybe total of 1.5 units, whatever you want to do. Maybe 3 little half unit plays is fine, or just take my thoughts and take Brunson at plus 270 now, like we're seeing, and maybe in Shabazian to win the first is a terrible plus 135. So if you want to throw a little bit on that too, it's fine. But the price is wrong, and I can't advocate for it. So there we have it, Danny. Anything else that we are missing in this card?
I don't think so, my man. I don't think so. Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of good fights. Ray Borg, right? And again. There's going to be guys on here you're going to say, who's Corey Durden? And, he might surprise you, right? And, Ed Herman, Gerald Mearshak is going to be a nice fight. But, there's good fights on this card. So you'll be excited. And it's on ESPN Plus. So if you subscribe to ESPN Plus, which I think is $6 a month, I think that you're going to get it for free. You're not having to pay for pay-per-view, so it'll be a nice thing for you to do on a Saturday night.
Absolutely. And we have some bigger ones coming up, too. Derek Lewis versus Olenik's going to be huge next weekend. Can't wait for that. That's going to be a fantastic heavyweight event, right? And then you have UFC 252, Danny, on August 15th with Miocic versus Cormier. And, the trilogy, right? The third fight. And can't wait for that one. Now, we are definitely going to have to get some beers to watch that one, my man.
Yeah.
All right. All right. We're out of time, my friend. Thank you so much for coming back on this week. Have some questions, please feel free to tweet us at The Oddsbreakers or tweet Danny at Cub Fan Danny. All right, now it is time to talk a little bit of fantasy football 2020, and we got our guy D Nasty back to break down some positions, and those positions are wide receiver, quarterback, a little bit on kicker, and then we're going to cover the rookie draft today. Some people are dynasty leagues, and some people aren't, but you can still hear about the rookie draft because eventually you're going to get down to these rookies in your normal snake drafts anyway, and we like to rank them how we think they're going to perform for this season whatsoever. Dave, how the heck you doing, man?
Good. Welcome back, all you fantasy ballers out there. The Odds Breakers edition.
Yeah, it's lots of news this week, though, Dave. As you know, a couple people are opting out of the season, and they say it's for safety reasons, and it's hard to argue with that, obviously. They can do what they think is best for them. It's a free country. Why don't you go over any players that could be of fantasy impact?
Okay, great. Well, the only one that's going to be really a fantasy impact right now that we've heard of so far is Devin Funchess for the Packers. They were a little thin at wide receiver. He was probably going to possibly be a starter or compete to be a starter with Alan Lazard. So that is kind of a big blow to the Packers, which kind of hurts myself as well because I'm a Packer fan. So I hate to see that. Quite a few defensive players have also opted out of the season as well. And then we did have a few linemen as well. So not really that big of a fantasy impact. IDP players, you got Chung on the Patriots. The running back, he's only a backup, though, Bolden on the Patriots as well. So just some smaller role players on some certain teams. But there's a few defensive players that you want to keep an eye out for, too, if you have IDP leagues that have been opting out as well. We'll see what happens before the season starts. There might be a few more here coming over the next couple weeks and over the next month or so. So definitely staying tuned with our podcast, and we'll keep you updated on all those.
Yeah, Hightower's another one for the Patriots, that beast of a linebacker and pass rusher. So I wonder if they could opt back in. And, you've seen people hold out, and this is different, obviously, the preseason schedule until they get a contract. Sometimes it's just holding out before that for training camp, and you wonder if they can opt back in if in case the virus dissipates more. Or on the opposite thing, the other hand is what I'm trying to say. I think that there's a chance that it's going to be more players, and we're just going to have to take this week by week. The good thing about fantasy is that you can always pick up the next guy, especially if you haven't drafted yet. I would feel sorry for a league that drafts early. I think if you draft early this year, then I'm not even sure if I would play in a league like that, Dave. I mean,
no, I definitely agree. I would not either because you're going to want to be drafting the week before just with everything that's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And our draft is always 10 days before, which isn't bad. But I might even I'll consider moving that up for the league that we control here for the cock blockers. So we'll take a look at that. It's a crazy world out there, but these players are still getting a big paycheck. Some of them need the money, especially the ones that haven't been paid yet. So I have no idea how to speculate this, but we'll see what happens. But most importantly, right now, we still have our best players minus Funchess to talk about, Dave. And we are talking about wide receivers. We did running backs last week. We did tight ends last week. We did defense last week. So we went into depth with all those positions. If you guys haven't listened to that, please check out last week's episode. Lots of information on there. Pretty much David and I disagreed on a few key players, but otherwise we were pretty much in line with each other. So why don't I get started here, Dave? I'll do 1 through 5 like we did last week with our wide receivers here. And number 1, I have, and I can't move him out of here because how well he did last year, is Michael Thomas. Led in targets at 11.6 per game and points at 18.8 per game. And that's on we cover this on a half-point PPR league just because there's full point and then there's no point, so you can kind of make your little adjustment if you need to. I think half point's the best way to go. And he was 2 points better than the guy in second place, And so I think that's pretty huge. I think who was in second place? It was Chris Godwin. So that I have him number 1 for sure, Dave. Number 2, I have Julio Jones, and big surprise there, right? But he's still the beast of the wide receivers in the whole NFL, in my opinion. Size-wise, athletic ability is what I'm talking about. Top 3 in targets and top 4 in points per game. Julio Jones, safe play. He's rarely ever injured. Number 3, I have DeAndre Hopkins. Has some motivation this year to show that he is the best, and he's going to stick it to the Texans, man. He's going to have a monster year with Kyler Murray, in my opinion. He's probably bitter. 5th in targets last year, 5th in points. I love me some DeAndre Hopkins, and he could be the best receiver. I can't really argue that he's not. The number 4, I'm a little bit lower on other people than him. A lot of people have him too, and that's Devontae Adams. Slightly lower, just 2 positions. But, although he was 2nd in targets when healthy last year and 6th in points per game, the Packers, they're going more of a power run offense. And I'm just not so sure about, Devontae Adams this year. I mean, I'm sure that he's 4th, but I'm not sure he's 2nd. He's still going to have a great year. Not too worried about him. Number 5, Michael Evans from Tampa Bay. He's going to be more of the bell cow in Tampa this year. 3rd in points per game. It was kind of crazy. Godwin and him were 2nd and 3rd last year in points per game. So that Godwin had a monster year, but he was also hurt for a few games last year, Mike Evans. But I think he's going to get more targets this year. Dave, what do you think about those top 5, and what are yours?
All right, great. Well, I have Michael Thomas at number 1. He's by far the beast of all the wide receivers. 185 targets last year. You can't really argue with that. He's definitely the number 1 overall. I got number 2, Devontae Adams. Reasoning is they will be running more, but he is going to be their main target. He's pretty much their only target as well. He's going to be like the DeAndre Hopkins on the Texans. They're going to throw to him all the time.
That's a great point, David, that Funchess isn't there. Maybe that makes him a little bit better. And obviously we just got the news. It makes me wonder if I move him up. They still got Lazard over there, and do they still have Allison? I don't know. But
Allison's gone. He went to the Lions.
Okay, Allison's gone. Aaron Rodgers seems to be able to throw to whoever. So great point. Maybe Adams moves back up in my opinion. But sorry for the interruption. Go ahead.
Number 3, I got Julio Jones. I do like him a lot too. He's just an athletic freak. I've seen him warm up, and he was jumping over field goal posts with ease, just catching balls over field goal posts and dunking over field goal posts and warm ups. So I was really a big fan of Julio Jones. DeAndre Hopkins, I have at number 4. I agree with you, Kiev, on this one. He's going to have a monster year. Kyler Murray's going to love having him as a target there. And then they have a deep wide receiver core there too, but Hopkins is definitely going to be a stud there in Arizona. And then number 5, I have a little different. Tyreek Hill. Mahomes does like throwing deep to Tyreek Hill. The Chiefs have a ridiculous offense. They're one of the top 5 offenses in the league. Tyreek Hill is definitely catch some nice deep balls. And he's definitely going to get some targets as well. So I like Tyreek at 5.
Yeah, I don't have Tyreek too far from there. So why don't you? And I like it. We had 4 of the same ones. So very good. I'm sure you have Mike Evans coming up soon. Why don't you go ahead with 6 through 10?
Sounds good. Now at 6, I do have Chris Godwin. We did differ a little bit on Mike Evans. With Tom Brady there, he is no Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston like to throw deep. Tom Brady does not throw as deep as often. So Chris Godwin is more the possession receiver. So I think he's going to be a little bit more valuable with Tampa Bay. So I got him at 6. 7, I have Kenny Galladay. He's coming around. He's a nice young receiver for the Lions. Lions are going to be throwing the ball a lot. They'll probably be behind too and coming back a lot. So Kenny Galladay is going to definitely see some targets and see a lot of action. Number 8, probably a surprise here, but Juju Smith-Schuster. I looked for him to rebound this year. He was a disappointment for a lot of us last year. I had him in a few leagues even, disappointed me in a few leagues. With Big Ben, though, back and healthy, I think he will move up in the rankings. He will have a better year. So I have him at number 8. Mike Evans, I have at number 9. Reasons I discussed. I don't think Tom Brady is going to be throwing the deep ball as much. Mike Evans did leave in the deep ball in the big plays last year. He's not more of the possession type receiver, so I did move him down accordingly because of that. Number 10, I have one that you'll probably like, Kiev, Allen Robinson. He's definitely going to be the go-to guy for whoever's the quarterback there, either Trubisky or Foles. But if Foles does start, I think his value does move up if Foles is the starter.
Well, all right there, Dave. I think that Evans is really big too. He's a big guy. Yeah, Chris Godwin's possession, but I think Evans can kind of do it all, and that's just what my thoughts are. Chris Godwin, I thought, benefited a little bit because, Evans was more double covered in my opinion, but that could happen again this year. We'll see. That's my only argument with that. Now, I will tell you that I do have Juju Smith-Schuster much lower than you, and he possibly is one of my busts actually, but I'll explain that a little bit later. Otherwise, I agree with you on the other ones. So my number 6 is Kenny Golladay for the Detroit Lions. Did you say you had him in the top? I can't remember.
Yeah, number 7.
Yeah, I thought so. So top 9 in points per game last year with a bad quarterback, right? Because Stafford was out for at least half the year. I think it was a little bit more than half the year he was out. So the fact that he was top 9 in points with that, Stafford's a good quarterback, and he's going to benefit with Stafford back. So I had it's kind of strange saying that, but Kenny Golladay is actually number 6 for me, and it's an interesting one for sure. And you hope that Stafford's going to stick. The next one I have is Tyreek Hill for various reasons. Obviously, you covered a lot of them, but Hill had less targets per game than guys like Courtland Sutton and Jamison Crowder last year. So that's what concerns me, and that's why he's down a little bit farther. He does thrive on yards after the catch, and Mahomes catches him at full speed. He doesn't have to slow down. He doesn't have to go down or up. So I think there's just a ton of upside for Tyreek Hill here, and it's hard not to. It'd be really hard for me to draft Golladay over him. But another problem is there's a lot of playmakers in Kansas City. Next one I have at number 8 is DJ Moore. I'm a little bit higher on him than other sites. Top 10 in targets last year, and he's going to benefit because, obviously Funchess is gone. Well, he was gone before that, but he has a new quarterback, right? He's got a new quarterback, and that is Teddy Bridgewater. And I also love how Matt Rule runs an offense. I've seen enough of it at Baylor to know there's going to be a lot of offense in this on this team. Maybe no defense, but I'm going to be cautiously optimistic that DJ Moore is going to be top 10 at the end of the season. Number 9, I have Chris Godwin. Not too bad. I mean, still in my top 10. 5th in targets and 2nd in points was just too huge last year to not have him in my top 10. But I think it was more the exception rather than the norm. And lots of targets to go around in Tampa Bay with Gronk coming back. That's something we have to think about as well. Number 10, I have Odell Beckham. And the only thing I wrote about Odell is that Odell needs to shut the fuck up before he becomes Antonio Brown. All right? Let me repeat that. Odell needs to shut the fuck up before he becomes Antonio Brown. So he's borderline Antonio Brown right now. He better watch it. I don't know why wide receivers are always such divas, but he's just been showing his divaness ever since he became popular, and it's not working out well for him. Just be modest out there. Landry's going to get some targets. Other guys are going to get some targets, like their new tight end.
Austin Hooper.
Yeah, Austin Hooper. I was forgetting his name. Thank you, Austin Hooper. So just go out and play football, and teams will like you, and you'll continue to get paid. And that's my top 10, Dave. I'm going to go 11 through 15 then. Adam Thielen is my number 11. No Diggs there, so that helps. But they did draft Jefferson,
Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, Justin Jefferson from LSU.
He's also on the COVID list right now, along with Keyshawn Vaughn, the running back that we'll be talking about here shortly probably as well. But those two both are on the COVID list right now with COVID.
Probably a good thing as long as they don't get hospitalized, and that means that they're not going to get it later. So you're pretty safe for your fantasy leagues right now for drafting Jefferson, if that's the case. But from LSU, he is an absolute beast, obviously. The next one I have is number 12, Robert Woods. Robert Woods last year averaged more points than Cooper Kupp, yet a lot of people have Kupp above Robert Woods. I love Robert Woods because he also gets some running plays. You'll see those end arounds with the Rams and the McVay offense. So Robert Woods is there. The next one I have at number 13 is one of my busts. And it's not like a lot of people have Allen Robinson at 7 or 8. Well, I have him at 13. I know you're higher on him than me. So thank you for that, Dave, putting a bear in there for me. But way too many questions at quarterback for me to put him too high. I like Allen Robinson. I like his capabilities. Obviously, if he was on a different team, he'd be higher. But the questions with Nick Foles there now, Mitch Trubisky, they could be just the battle who, instead of to see who's best, it could be the battle to see who's worst. You never know with this. And it's scary to be a Bear fan right now. But in my opinion, he's in the tier 3 wide receivers, tier 3. So number 14, I have my first sleeper, Dave, because a lot of others rank him at number 30, and it is A.J. Green from Cincinnati.
Wow.
Who cares if he missed last season, man? He's still A.J. Green and is an absolute beast. He was injured. He could have came back, remember? But the Bengals were so bad. He's like, I'm getting paid. I'll just take the rest of the season off. And they were cool with it. They didn't want him to be injured for next year. They weren't going nowhere. But now he's got a quarterback. He's got a real quarterback, and the best in college, probably the best season ever a quarterback ever had in college was last year with Joe Burrow. And
was the last time he played a full season though, Kiev? Didn't he burn you in our fantasy league
yes,
like 2 years in a row?
Yes, he's played some full seasons, Dave. He has. It's been it's been a while, and but he's a sleeper for me. He's going to get most of the targets until he gets hurt. He is going to get most of the targets. I mean, we had A.J. Green in the top 3, I think, last year, right? Or top 5 or something. He was pretty high last year. So I'm dropping him to 14. I think that's modest. I think that's plenty modest. Number 15, Dave, I still have another sleeper for you. And sleepers get you excited. Get me excited.
Not A.J. Green.
No. Obviously, for you, didn't like that, but that's okay. DK Metcalf is my number 15, and this year Metcalf proves that he's better than Lockett. The guy is an absolute beast. I don't know if you saw that Twitter video when he was jumping up on like on those boxes all stacked up. It was probably taller than me, and he literally just cleans it, lands up on top of it. Absolute beast. I mean, he was at 10 points per game last year. And that was his rookie year. He's going to improve. He's got Russell Wilson behind him. I am not worried. DK Metcalf is going to be serious this year, in my opinion. What are your thoughts?
I like the DK Metcalf pick a lot. He's one of my sleepers as well. I do like him a lot. But I got at number 11, Amari Cooper. This is a guy you can't forget about either. He's a top 5 receiver. Dallas Cowboys threw the ball a ton last year. So he's definitely going to get his targets this year and his yards too. CeeDee Lamb being there is going to hurt him a little bit, but Randall Cobb is there and still got quite a few targets. So I think Lamb will still fit in and they'll have enough targets to go around with all the guys there. And Witten's gone now too, so John will take some of those targets, but they're still going to have quite a few targets to go around. Number 12, I got Odell Beckham. I'm not as high on him as I have him on my list. Like Antonio Brown last year, if you guys remember, I ranked Antonio Brown outside my top 20. And he didn't even play last year, so only played a game last year. So I was right about him last year. So Odell Beckham would be the guy that I'm not too sure about this year, and that I would definitely downgrade further even if he wasn't so talented.
Right.
Number 13, the guy, my sleeper actually that I really, really like this year, not like A.J. Green, who's going to get injured after week 2.
You predicting injuries now, Dave? You're predicting injuries, man. Holy cow. You should be more to the sports betting side if that's the case.
Number 13, Calvin Ridley. He's going to be a top 5 receiver this year, I think. If you look at his stats last year after Sanu was traded, he was a top 5 receiver the rest of the year until he got injured. But Calvin Ridley definitely is going to be my sleeper of the year. He's my dynasty sleeper for the wide receivers. He's definitely going to be a top 5 receiver this year. That offense that Matt Ryan's throwing the ball a lot, they're going to be behind. Their defense is horrible. Calvin Ridley is the guy I really like this year. Number 14, DJ Moore. Just for the reasons you discussed, I like Teddy Bridgewater there over Cam Newton. Better quarterback, more of a pocket passer. DJ Moore is going to do a lot better with Teddy Bridgewater there. Number 15, Cooper Kupp. I think Jared Goff bounces back this year. I like Woods as well, but I think Kupp is the guy there, the main guy there. I think he's the number one there. So I like Kupp at number 15.
All right, so if you remember Mr. Amari Cooper from Dallas, week 15, scored you in the playoffs 2.4 points. And
0-point game too last year, but I still like him though.
Yeah, I remember how up and down he was. Yeah, week 6, 0.8 points. Week 11, 5.3, week 12, 0. And then if you got by your week 15, when he played Philly, week 16, he had 4.4 points. Right? I was pretty furious with Amari Cooper because I thought I had better value with him last year. I think his floor is a little bit low, so I do disagree with that one. But, I can see where you're at on the other ones for sure. So why don't you go ahead with your 16 through 20?
Sounds good. 16, I have another sleeper that I really like this year. Well, A.J. Brown. Ryan Tannehill had a bounce-back year, and A.J. Brown was a big reason for that. He's a nice young receiver, good hands. He's going to have an even better year sophomore year, so I definitely like A.J. Brown a lot. Number 17, Robert Woods. I got two of the Rams in my top 20 here, but I think Jared Goff, like I said, he rebounds, and then Sean McVay is going to get that offense back on track. And like you said, lots of targets for Robert Woods last year. Number 18, I have Adam Thielen. I do like him as well. With Diggs gone, he's going to have more targets. The rookie receivers aren't going to take those targets away from him, so I like Adam Thielen at 18. I have 19, I have Cortland Sutton. I do like with the offense there in Denver. He's probably one of my sleepers as well. I think Denver's going to have a very good offense with Drew Lock running the show. Some people aren't sold on him yet, but towards the end of the last year when he did start, he did put up some nice numbers. So I do like Cortland Sutton at 19. And then at 20, DK Metcalf. For all the reasons that Kiev stated, I do like him. I think he's going to take over the number one spot there eventually, and Lockett will be at number 2.
All right. So definitely like everyone but Cortland Sutton. And Cortland Sutton, week 14, 5.9 points. Not terrible. Week 15, 9.9. Week 16, 6.6. He had that good week 13 at 21.4. But my problem with Cortland Sutton is that Denver drafted 2 wide receivers this year very early, first round pick, and I think KJ Hamler was their second round pick. They got Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler. All right. That worries me, especially with an offense that isn't really that pass happy. Noah Fant's there still. I have Cortland Sutton as my biggest bust, Dave, and I have him down to 36. So we have a big disagreement on that. That's interesting. So we'll see. My 16 through 20, I have another sleeper at 16, Dave. A lot of people have him at average around 24. It's Devontae Parker. Parker's targets went up throughout last season, and he averaged the second most points in fantasy football for wide receivers since week 8 of last year. If you had him week 8 and beyond, he was second behind Thomas. His last 3 games averaged 19.5 fantasy points. Fitzmagic loved him, right? Well, Fitzmagic's going to be playing in the beginning at least, and Devontae Parker might have finally got his head out of his ass. So he is my sleeper as well, and he's up to 16 for me, and like I said, most people had him at 24. Number 17 is Calvin Ridley. No disagreement from me from what you said. This year he can shine, but Julio, he's still Julio. Julio still be double covered. So Julio can beat double coverage, but yet Calvin Ridley will get some good targets. Tampa also has a very weak secondary, Dave, and the Saints lost Von Bell. Carolina's horrible on defense. Yeah, I agree with you. I can see Calvin Ridley having a great year. Number 18 is Amari Cooper, only 7.4 targets per game, and now has CeeDee Lamb taking some targets away. This offense is also based on Ezekiel Elliott, and that's why his floor is low, in my opinion, just like it was last year. Number 19, I have Cooper Kupp. Gets more targets than Woods. He did last year anyway, but he's going to get a lot of action still. He's Cooper Kupp, great possession receiver. And number 20, the run-first offense of A.J. Brown worries me a little bit. I like A.J. Brown. He was amazing last year. But, the good news about a guy like Henry, he opens up the passing game, and maybe, A.J. Brown's going to benefit from that a little bit. It's not like there's a lot of competition for balls out there. I think Delaney Walker, I'm not even sure if he's on the team anymore. I don't think he is. Maybe he's signed. I can't remember that. But, not enough targets at 5.6, in my opinion, for A.J. Brown to be too high for me. Thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. A.J. Brown's going to suffer a little bit, but Derrick Henry's definitely going to open up the game for him. The only guy I disagreed with you on then, too, is Devontae Parker. You have to remember, too, that when Preston Williams went down is when he started to blow up. With Preston Williams back this year, he's going to take away some of those targets from Devontae Parker. So I don't think Devontae Parker's going to have as big a year this year as he did last year.
Yeah, well, I brought him to 16, but yeah, he had a huge year, and I thought he might get rewarded from it. So, good points, Dave. The injury definitely is something to remember. So, next one I have, number 21, is Keenan Allen. I mean, Keenan Allen's Keenan Allen. He's not old by any means. New quarterback concerns me, though, with Tyrod Taylor there. Tyrod Taylor, great decision maker with the ball. He doesn't take chances, but that also hurts his receivers for fantasy. He's not going to throw a lot of picks like Jameis Winston did. But even with Jameis Winston's picks, like 30-some last year, he still created two of the top three fantasy wide receivers last year. So Keenan Allen worries me a little bit, and so he's kind of a semi-bust. Not that he was ranked that high in other people's, but probably for the same reasons. He still averaged 13 fantasy points per game and over 9 targets last year, though. So, if he remains healthy, which he's had health concerns, he can be okay. Number 22, I have another sleeper for you, Dave, and that is Marquise Brown from Baltimore.
I like it.
Yeah, good. He only had 5.1 targets, but he was a rookie. Not a lot of wide receiver competition in Baltimore, and he has just such serious speed and amazing upside, very high ceiling. He can score 40 points for you, He's the number one guy in Baltimore, and you saw Baltimore's offense last year, so he's a sleeper for me. And I considered moving him up higher than that. Number 23 is Juju Smith-Schuster. He didn't have Big Ben last year, but 7.8 points per game and 5.6 targets still worry me. They started saying that Juju Smith-Schuster was he doesn't have the mindset of a number one guy. Like, he's more got the mindset of a 2 or a 3 guy. So that worries me a little bit. Number 24, I have Jarvis Landry from Cleveland. If Odell messes up, then Landry has no problems catching all those balls for the Browns, and he moves into possibly top 10 receiver if Odell, for some reason, gets injured, runs his mouth, and gets suspended. Jarvis Landry is a pretty safe bet for me at that position. Number 25, I have Tyler Lockett. He's still a great player with a top 3 quarterback like Russell Wilson. So I do believe Metcalf does beat him out and get the most points, but Tyler Lockett is still amazing, and so he's my number 25, Dave. What's your 21 through 25?
Sounds good. Number 21, I have DJ Shark for Jacksonville. Minshew is going to be back this year. Minshew did like throwing the Shark last year. He did have a breakout year last year, so I do like DJ Shark. I look for him to be their number 1 this year for Jacksonville. 22, I do have Keenan Allen. Same concerns as you, Kiev. Quarterback situation there kind of worries me, so that's why he's at 22 here. I'm not going to discuss him much further because we already went over that. 23, a sleeper that I really like, Terry McLaurin for Washington. Even though Haskins is going to be the one throwing there, he has some time in the offseason to work out with him. I do like he's up-and-coming receiver. They're definitely their number 1 there. I look for him to have another breakout year this year for Washington. I do like him a lot. Number 24, Tyler Lockett. Like you said, Russell Wilson's thrown to these 2 guys. They're both going to put up some nice numbers. I do like Metcalf better as well, but I have Lockett at 24. And then at 25, I do have Stephon Diggs. Right. I do like going to Buffalo. I think he could be the number 1 there. Josh Allen is still improving. He's still a young quarterback. So I think that he could be a nice deep threat for the Bills there. And I do have Devontae Parker just outside as one of my sleepers as well.
Okay. I have Diggs number 29, and there's a reason for it, and you'll know a little bit more about that when we get to quarterbacks. But Terry McLaurin, yeah, he did play with Haskins at Ohio State, right? And they have a great camaraderie. And, if they can do anything, it's going to be probably guys like Terry McLaurin that benefit. So interesting there. It's kind of weird not saying guys like T.Y. Hilton, guys we used to say for the last 7 years, right? It's just so weird not doing that, man. I have G.J. Chark at number 26 too. So very close. We both have DJ Chark there. So just quick go over the rest of my sleepers that didn't make my top 25. Deebo Samuel, I have at number 31. I think
Deebo is injured though, so he's not going to be back right away.
He'll be back for the start. That's what they're saying. He broke a bone, but that was back in like late June or something. He's going to be okay. He was supposed to miss the preseason for the most part and then come back. So I still think Deebo is going to be pretty good, and I have him at number 30. And then the next sleeper I have is they have him around 54th. I am at 33rd, and that's Jalen Reagor for the Philadelphia Eagles. Notice we didn't mention any receivers from the Eagles. I think he's going to be possibly the best rookie because Alshon Jeffrey's, more of a possession guy nowadays. Reagor has got the speed. He's going to burn. He's going to take it to the house. I think Jalen Reagor has some serious upside and will be the number one receiver after a few games in Philadelphia. The next one I have, kind of a little bit of a sleeper, Anthony Miller. We'll see what happens with Mitch, obviously. But, Anthony Miller had, if you remember when Robinson was injured, he was catching everything. He's just a great player when the ball is thrown to him correctly. And that's the big question. So the next one I have at number 34 is Justin Jefferson. And he's gonna get some good targets out there in Minnesota. They expect him to play day one. Yes, it's Thielen, but they got rid of Diggs. Justin Jefferson's gonna get some points this year, so I like Justin Jefferson, and that's about it. I guess I moved up Sammy Watkins a little bit too because a lot of people had him around 60. I moved him down to 39. So that's the rest of my sleepers. Do you have any more sleepers, Dave?
I do, yeah. Marquise Brown I had as a sleeper. We already discussed him, so I'm not going to go into detail on him. I like Brandon Cooks. Now that he's in Houston, I think he could be the number one there. He could have a big year replacing Hopkins there if he can stay healthy. So I like Cooks as a sleeper. Darius Slayton, I really like him, a second-year guy for the Giants. Daniel Jones did throw to him quite a bit last year. I don't think Tate or Shepard can stay healthy for the whole year, so he could definitely have a big year for the Giants. And then I do like Lamb and Juddy as well. Two rookie wide receivers. I moved up my list quite a bit. I think they can have big years as well.
Like it, Dave. Yeah, definitely like it. I thought Cooks is a great point. Now he's possibly going to be the main guy getting targets over in Houston there. So, yeah, and Deshaun Watson's a great quarterback. So, I'll rethink him for sure. Well, that's great, Dave. Great breakdown here. We definitely have our disagreements there, but we also have our agreements. It's going to be an interesting year. Move on to quarterbacks, Dave, and we'll do it like we just did. I'm going to let you go first. What's your top five?
All right. Well, my number one, of course, is Pat Mahomes. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks. I liked him the last couple of years. Even on the podcast, the last 2 years, you'll see that if you listen to any of the past seasons, Pat Mahomes is one of my favorite quarterbacks and favorite players. So definitely number one for him. One of the top offenses. They didn't lose any players really on offense, and they added a running back in the draft too, who we'll speak about here shortly. But definitely number one, Pat Mahomes. Plus, he's the richest quarterback in football right now as well. This huge contract,
$500 million. You give him, he's the richest athlete out there.
Exactly, and he owns part of the Kansas City Royals, which he bought a share of today as well with all that money.
Oh, terrible investment, Dave. Terrible investment.
Lamar Jackson, number two, of course. He's definitely right up there with Mahomes. These are the two young up-and-coming quarterbacks. So, and then I went with another young quarterback at number three, Kyler Murray. I think adding Hopkins definitely is going to help him. He's still got Fitzgerald. He's got Christian Kirk. He's got some nice weapons on offense there. I got him at three. I know a lot of people had Dak and Russell Wilson up there, but I have Kyler Murray at three. Russell Wilson, what can he say? He puts up solid numbers every year. He's not going to disappoint. I got him at number 4. He's got nice receivers in Lockett and Metcalf, who we talked about already. A good running game. So I definitely like Wilson at 4. I got Dak at number 5. Everyone was ranking him as a top 3 quarterback. I definitely think they're still going to throw the ball, even though Zeke's going to run the ball as well. But they got some nice receivers there now and some nice weapons on offense too with Lamb there now. So I got Dak at 5.
Nice. We have the same top 5, just a little bit different order though. Number 1 for me is Patty Mahomes for everything. Obviously, he said we'll see if he's worth every penny of that beautiful contract. But the kid seems like a fantastic kid, and great for the city. Just investing in the city like that goes a long way. I mean, it really does.
Exactly.
That's the big difference between football and basketball too. It's like basketball, people care about where you're at and stuff. Players are not, I guess, as loyal. But in football, it's different. The NFL's got that down much better than basketball. Number 2, I actually do have Russell Wilson, and it's shocking that I don't have Jackson there, but I'll explain in a minute. But it's Russell. He makes magic happen. He doesn't get injured. He just wins games. I've doubted him plenty of times when Seattle's like reformed their defense, and he's always proved me wrong. So Russell Wilson. Very high floor with Russell Wilson. You don't have to worry about too many single-digit games from Russell Wilson, man. Love him there. Number 3 is Lamar Jackson. He had 9 points better than the second guy. And believe it or not, second best guy was Matt Stafford, but until he got injured. So we'll go over that later as far as points. But and our league is 6 points per touchdown. Some are 4. So it differs a little bit. But Lamar Jackson, my biggest scare and my biggest concern is him still getting injured. And maybe he won't. And he's shown he's smart. He's not RG3. He can slide, but he still holds the ball a lot. I'm a little concerned about that. I'm a little concerned that they exposed a little bit of his weakness. Tennessee Titans did by making him throw to the outside, taking away the middle of the field. Just slightly concerned, but he's still top 3. Number 4, I have Dak Prescott. And I never thought I'd say this, but he's motivated. It's a contract year for him. He's got to prove to everybody why he said no to all those $30 million per year plus offers from the Cowboys wanting 40. He's going to prove it this year. So if he doesn't, it's not going to look good for him at all. So he's got every single reason, 40 million reasons to have a fantastic year. And he's got the weapons with CeeDee Lamb, like you said, Amari Cooper, my sleeper tight end. What's his name? Jarwin, Blake Jarwin. Yeah, he's got plenty of weapons there. Number 5, I do have Kyler Murray. All I have to say is gained Hopkins. You're good. You gained Hopkins. Any thoughts on those?
No, I like it. Like you said, we have similar top 5. Lamar, the only thing about Lamar, though, too, is if you're in a 4-point quarterback league, he's going to be even more valuable to you, though. He might even be like a 1 or a 2, because what will happen is he's going to get you those rushing yards, and he's going to get you those 6-point rushing touchdowns as well. So he's going to be more valuable in a 4-point league as well.
Great point, Dave. Absolutely 100% agree with you there. Number 6, I have Deshaun Watson, and I said lost Hopkins. I mean, if he had Hopkins, he'd be higher than Kyler Murray. But he doesn't have Hopkins, so he's below Kyler Murray, in my opinion. Just one spot, but it's funny how they flip-flop because of that. The next one I have is Drew Brees, 3rd in points per game at 20.2, and an amazing 74% completion percentage. 3rd in QBR last year. I'm sorry, but I can't see that much of a drop with Drew Brees. A lot of people have him around 10. I had to put him at 7, so I upgrade him a little bit. Hard to say no to Drew. And you remember what Tom Brady did when he was Drew Brees' age. Scored a ton of points. I'm not that worried yet. Next one I have is Matt Ryan, Matty Ice Baby at number 8. Great wide receivers. My only concern is, can the offensive line hold up? They didn't do much in the offseason to address it, but Matt Ryan's used to getting pressure and getting drilled. So, he's a tough-minded guy. He's going to get you some serious fantasy points with those studs running and receivers. The next one I have, number 9, is Matt Stafford. 2nd in points per game when he was healthy last year. Matt Stafford, He can come back in games. He shows that he's a NFL quarterback. He just doesn't take the team quite over the top when he has to. You kind of have glimpses of the potential, but Matt Stafford's still very solid fantasy quarterback. He's been a very solid fantasy quarterback for 10 years, man. And I can't take him out of the top 10. Number 10, I do have Tom Brady. Can't doubt the man. He's re-energized with Tampa. You could tell last year, especially when they lost to the Dolphins that last game, that he was kind of checked out. He kind of checked out of the Patriots, kind of had enough. Maybe the media got to him with all the rumors and stuff, and then the media creates animosity between people. I don't know. Maybe him and Belichick, they're going to be best buds for life after he retires. But right now, he's got a reason to show why he can do it on another team. So it's a whole new motivation for him. Of course, that didn't work out too well for MJ when he went to the Wizards. So remember that. Next,
I do.
So okay, that was my top 10, Dave. So why don't you go ahead with 5 through 10 or 6 through 10?
6, I got Deshaun Watson, just for the reasons we discussed. Still a great quarterback. They lost Hopkins, added Cooks and Randall Cobb, but that's not going to cut it. Those guys are no Hopkins, so definitely got to move him down a few slots due to that. Number 7, Josh Allen. I know he's not a good deep thrower. Diggs is definitely going to help him. What I moved him up to 7, though, is because of his rushing ability. He had quite a few goal line carries, then scored touchdowns that way. He's going to get you rushing yards as well. So kind of like Lamar Jackson. If you're in a 4-point league, he's going to be more valuable to you because of the rushing yards and goal line touchdowns that he's going to get for you. So I got him at 7. I got number 8. I got Matty Ice as well. I do like him in that Atlanta offense. Their defense is horrible. They're going to be throwing from behind and trying to catch up all the time. So, and they do have a talented wide receivers. And then they actually Hayden Hurst too. They have at tight end now, who I really like as well. So he's got some nice targets to throw to. And then I got at number 9 Carson Wentz. Probably a little bit of a surprise here, but with Rager there, I like Miles Sanders there. They got some other good receivers there in Jackson and Jeffrey. So I think their offense could be pretty good there if Wentz can stay healthy. And then number 10, I got Drew Brees. Yeah, I agree with you on everything about Drew Brees. I do like Drew Brees. He's just so consistent year to year. Same with Stafford. I got him not far down the list either, but I definitely like Drew Brees at number 10.
Yeah, I like everything except for Josh Allen, and he's I might as well say it right now. He's one of my, I wouldn't say like total bust, like undraftable bust. He's 14 for me, but I can't take Lamar Jackson and move him to 3. And not do the same to Josh Allen because he runs the ball a ton. And he does have some great wide receivers. I'll say that now. He has Diggs and obviously John Brown. But he was only 22nd in completion percentage last year. I'm going to have to see a lot more improvement before I'm able to put him into the top 12, top 10, whatever. So that's my only disagreement with you. Why don't you go ahead with your 11 through 15?
Sounds good. Number 11, Tom Brady. Like you said, I think he's going to be energized. He's got Gronk back. He's got some top-notch receivers in Evans and Godwin. So, and then the offense they have some nice running backs too as well. Some nice running backs. He's definitely got some players to work with now. More talent than he probably even had in the Patriots, which is pretty scary. So I got him at number 11. Matthew Stafford at 12. You were right on point with him, Kiev. He's been a solid quarterback, just like Breeze. He puts up huge numbers every year. He's a solid quarterback when he's healthy. I definitely like him at 12. Number 13, A-Rod. I can't move A-Rod too much farther down the list. They're going to be more of a running team this year, but A-Rod's still going to get his. And he throws very few interceptions. He's still going to put up some nice numbers. He's still one of the top 10 quarterbacks, even though I got him at 13. Number 14, I got a little bit of a surprise here. This is one of my sleepers, Daniel Jones. He came on last year. He was only a rookie last year. His first year in the league. Quarterbacks are always going to struggle a little bit. Even Peyton Manning did his rookie year. I look for him to improve in his second year in the league, and I look for Daniel Jones to have a semi-breakout year this year. He could be one nice sleeper for you. Daniel Jones, number 14. I got number 15, Big Ben. Big Ben always puts up good numbers too when he's healthy. He hasn't been injured really much in his career. When he does play, he's good for a good 4,000 yard season, at least 25 to 30 touchdowns. I got Big Ben at 15.
All right. Well, that's good, Dave. And we can probably just go to 15 here. I actually have a couple players exactly where you are. So let's just go right with the number 11, Carson Wentz. Kind of average last year, but he definitely has some upside with Rager there now. And, Wentz is a baller. He's proved it. And my number 12 is my first sleeper, Dave, of all the quarterbacks, and I do have Teddy Bridgewater over there. Just throwing to CMC himself should be plenty, to get him some points. Plus, you have DJ Moore there. I think that Bridgewater under Matt Rule is just going to improve. He's a sleeper for me, and I'm not sure a lot of places are going to draft him, but you have to remember they're going to be desperate at the end of games, and they're still going to be trying to catch up. I can see him getting some serious points towards the for the full game. He's not going to be put on the shelf in the fourth quarter and running the ball. So I like Bridgewater at 12. Number 13, agree with you at A-Rod. Everything you said, you nailed it 100%. Number 14 is where I have Josh Allen for what I said about his injury possibilities, and he's got to improve his completion percentage. Number 15, I do have Big Ben, and Big Ben, he's Big Ben. He's good. He was just injured. He might start off a little rusty here, but then he's going to figure it out, and he's a baller. He's a great quarterback, smart. He's always got that high floor too. Like a lot of times he gets drafted either very late or doesn't even get drafted, but yet somebody owns him throughout the year and benefits. That's just how Big Ben's always been in fantasy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
His receiving core is actually kind of ridiculous this year now, too. He's got Juju, Deontay Johnson, a nice young receiver, James Washington, and then they added Chase Claypool in the draft as well. So he's got some pretty nice, talented receivers, and Ebron went there, too.
Totally. No, I agree. And just a couple honorable mentions. I do have Daniel Jones at 16, Ryan Tannehill at 17, Garoppolo at 18. I do have Garoppolo higher than some. Some people have him in the 20s. He's not that bad. Baker Mayfield at 19. And Mayfield, he could have a fantastic year if he improves. I'm almost thinking maybe I'm a little bit too low on Mayfield. We'll see. I might shift him around, Dave, but that's my honorable mentions. And my only bust is Cam Newton. I don't see him doing anything in New England, and he was bad last year. Had like the worst completion percentage. I don't care about the injury excuses because he could still have the injuries. I don't like it. I don't love his attitude. Cam Newton's probably my bust. One thing I will say about Mitch Trubisky, he's definitely not someone you're going to draft ever, but just keep your eye on him because he does have the size, the speed, and the arm strength. The reason he wasn't accurate is because he had no confidence. He got nervous. If he beats that this year, because he's in a do or die year. If he sucks this season, he's done in the league, or maybe a backup at best, maybe making like $2 million, $3 million, whatever. They pay backups actually. Some get paid a little bit more than that. But Mitch Trubisky has every reason to try to have a great year, and I don't think they're going to throw Foles out right away to the Wolves to start because there's been no real practice, no real preseason. So Mitch might actually start. So just keep your eye on him for what he does week 1, and just watch him, see if he looks poised. Any honorable mentions for you or any busts?
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you on Cam Newton. He's definitely a bust for me this year. I don't like him. I got Jared Stidham as a guy to watch in case Newton gets hurt or doesn't even win the job. I'm not sold on Cam Newton. But my guy I really like, though, is Drew Lock. With the weapons they added another tight end in the draft. They added the 2 wide receivers in the draft, and they added Melvin Gordon. I think that could be a top 10 offense there for Denver. I think Drew Lock is going to flourish this year in that offense. I love Drew Lock. Joe Burrow, they added T. Higgins in the draft for him. They're getting some linemen back that were injured. They added a lineman in the draft as well. I like Joe Burrow to have a huge year for Cincinnati in his rookie year, maybe rookie of the year possibly. So I definitely like him a lot. Mayfield, he's burned me in the past, but I think he could have a nice year too with some weapons they added as well.
Totally. 100% agree, my man. All right. Well, kickers, not much for Dave and I to say there, but both Dave and I know that if you're going to draft kickers, you want to draft on teams that are going to score a ton of points. And the teams don't even have to have a great defense. Like maybe you will pick up Carolina's kicker, I don't know. But, it's pretty much Harrison Butker, Justin Tucker for Baltimore, Will Lutz for New Orleans, Greg Zuerlein now is on Dallas, Robbie Gould for San Fran. Those are the guys, really. There's nothing to say. Just don't pick any kicker that's on a team like Cincinnati or Miami or the Jets, or Washington. Don't touch any of those. And kicker should be the last guy drafted, right, Dave?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Kicker and defense is always your last couple picks.
Yeah, they're just unpredictable. You don't know how the game's going to go all the time. And, sometimes when teams are getting stuffed and can't score in the red zone, the kicker's the best player. It's just, you just don't know. It's not necessarily even a bad team. once in a while a kicker can be pretty good, but at least you get a bunch of extra points and don't get goose eggs when you have guys like Justin Tucker and Will Lutz. It's just the way it is, and that's all we have to really say about kickers. Let's go through our rookie draft really quick, and we can just kind of blow through it, Dave. We don't need to stop too much. I'll start out here. Jonathan Taylor, I do have number 1, and for obvious reasons, I think he's got the biggest upside with Indianapolis. I think he's going to take over quicker than Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Number 2, I do have DeAndre Swift, actually, because I keep scratching my head with what I said about Kerryon Johnson last week. I don't know, but I think he's going to get a ton of carries anyway. I think he's going to get 40% minimum. I'm not that worried about him. I kind of like him there. And then Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I have number 3, actually. I thought a lot about this, but here's the thing. Kansas City did sign DeAndre Washington before they drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They just have a ton of players there. The offense is loaded. Even their tight end is their best freaking pass catcher. They're tight end. And they have Tyreek Hill. It's just how much will Clyde Edwards-Helaire get? I don't know. So I'm very concerned about that. And then I have J.K. Dobbins after that. CeeDee Lamb after that, because I think Amari Cooper is going to have his overpaid ass kiss goodbye after this season. So CeeDee Lamb is probably going to get a lot more work for the second half of the year. I have Jerry Jeudy at number 6. For obviously reasons with Denver. Cam Akers for the Rams, a running back that is going to hopefully replace Gurley, right? And obviously he's going to have a couple battles himself to see who gets the most carries, but Cam Akers is up there. Jalen Reagor is next with Philly for what I said before. He was one of my sleepers. He's going to get a lot of possessions and will be the number 1 guy, in my opinion, eventually there. Justin Jefferson is number 9. Number 10 is Denzel Mims. He's my first sleeper for the Jets. Obviously, the Jets got rid of some of their receivers there, and Denzel Mims had the best combines for size and speed with the receivers. Obviously, Ruggs was a little faster, but Mims still ran sub 4.4, and he's a lot taller than the rest of those guys. Keyshawn Vaughn is next for Tampa Bay. Dave, you made some good points, and I thought about those points, and so I moved him up as a sleeper to number 11 here. Keyshawn Vaughn might take the actual top carries. He might take it away from Jones this year at Tampa. So with Tom Brady back there, hell yeah, why not? Joe Burrow, number 12. T. Higgins, number 13. Cincinnati, he's got Joe Burrow back there. I think they're going to gel together well. They're both rookies this year. Both were studs with their teams. Next one I have is Michael Pittman for Indianapolis. I hated the fact that I drafted Paris Campbell in our Dynasty League last year because I think he might end up being a complete bust. I think Michael Pittman's going to take over, possibly even be the number 1 guy and kick T.Y. to the curb. And number 15, I have A.J. Dillon for Green Bay.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah.
I like the A.J. pick.
Yeah, man. I think he's going to get a lot of carries there. I do. And the fact that I like Aaron Jones so much and the fact that I keep talking about how the Packers are going to go power offense really makes me like A.J. Dillon, bud. So who's your top 15?
All right. Jonathan Taylor got number 1. I like it with him with Phillip Rivers there. The number 1 offensive line in the league, and they have one of the easiest schedules in the league. So JT definitely made it at number 1. I got Clyde Edwards-Helaire at number 2. The Kansas City offense, they're going to find ways to get him the ball. He's a great pass catcher as well. He was at LSU, so I do like him to have a lot of catches too. So I think he's going to be very valuable in that aspect. J.K. Dobbins at number 3 for Baltimore. They love running the ball there. They just like to pound the ball as well. So Dobbins, I could see definitely getting quite a few carries there. Number 4, I got Lamb. I think I like to see them air it out again. Like you said, Dak's going to have a big year, contract year. So he's definitely going to be throwing the ball a lot. Number 5, DeAndre Swift, just for the reasons you stated. If he does get more carries than Kerryon, he's definitely going to be very valuable there. Number 6, I like Jeudy. I think he could actually take over as a number 1 for Denver eventually, but definitely a solid number 2. So number 6, I have Jerry Jeudy there. 7, I got Cam Akers. I think he could win the job there. He's going to have some competition from Darrell Henderson, but I definitely like Cam Akers to win that job possibly there for the Rams. 8, I have Jalen Reagor as well. I think he's going to have a big year. There's really no competition for him there. Jeffrey's often injured. Deshaun Jackson's getting old. He's more of a deep threat, so I do like Jalen Reagor at 8. And number 9, Justin Jefferson. I look for him to have a big year. He could be the solid number 2 for the Vikings. Thielen does get hurt. He has been injured the last few years on and off, so he could be the number 1 if Thielen gets injured possibly. So like Jefferson at 9. I got Burrow at 10 for all the reasons I stated before. He's got quite a few weapons. He's got A.J. Green, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins.
I thought A.J. Green was going to get hurt, Dave.
Oh, he will, but for the first couple of weeks at least, if he will be able to throw to him. And then T. Higgins will be starting for him probably.
Go ahead.
And then I have Michael Pittman at 11. For all the reasons you stated, I do like with Rivers there. I think they'll have a good offense. Number 12, but one I do have a little bit different, one of my sleepers, Zach Moss. Bills do like to run the ball a lot and keep ball control. They have a good defense. He's going to take over all the carries for Frank Gore. I do like Zach Moss quite a bit. He's definitely my number 1 sleeper here at number 12. Keyshawn Vaughn at 13. We discussed him already quite a bit. All the reasons you stated, Kiev. I do like him if he does win the job. Even if he doesn't, he's going to get quite a few throws. Tom Brady does like dump it off to the running backs, kind of like James White-ish. So number 13, Keyshawn Vaughn. Denzel Mims at 14. I think he could take over as a number 1 there eventually, halfway into the year. I don't think Crowder or Perryman are going to give him much competition there. I like him as a sleeper as well at 14. And then number 15 to round it out, Brandon Ayuk. With Debo coming back off an injury, I think he could carve out a nice little role there. He could be the solid number 2 there possibly going into the year.
No, I like it. And I have Brandon Ayuk number 17 and Henry Ruggs number 16. So not too far off on that. One thing I will say is if you haven't done your dynasty rookie draft and you have a true dynasty league where you keep everybody, don't draft defense until at least the 3rd round. Even Young is not worth a top 2 rounds because there's just not that much of a difference between him getting points from the next best defensive end. There's not.
Exactly.
The offensive guys are your bell cows of your team. Defense a lot can be picked up off the waivers. Of course, depends upon how deep your bench is, but in most cases, that's how it goes, right, Dave?
Exactly. I totally agree.
Yeah, I like what you said about Zach Moss too. He's got some serious upside there. I really think that he could be possibly even competing well with Singletary out there. Good stuff there. KJ Hamler might be a sleeper of mine. Just too early to tell. He's ranked number 24 for me, so. We'll see what happens there. Chase Claypool is going to be very interesting at Pittsburgh for what you said. Like I said that I don't think that Juju Smith-Schuster is the number 1 guy. Well, maybe Chase Claypool becomes the number 1 guy. Maybe he does. So
he's big and fast. Yeah, he could possibly.
Yeah, so he's kind of a sleeper for me. Do you have anybody else you want to throw out there?
Yeah, I do like a couple sleepers that I do like. Tua Tagovailoa. Butchered his name, but
Tagovailoa. Some people, it's hard to say that name, man. It's tough.
I do like Tua though. I think he could eventually start from Miami. He's got a high ceiling, so I definitely like him. Another guy I really do like is Bryan Edwards for the Raiders. They're very weak at wide receiver. After Brown left them last year, that left him hanging kind of. I like Bryan Edwards quite a bit for the Raiders, and Derek Carr could find him as one of his favorite targets. And then another guy, one of my favorites, is Antonio Gibson. Just a raw, athletic guy. He definitely can take over. They're talking about just getting him the ball in certain ways. He could be a running back or a receiver. He can play a lot of different positions, but they're going to put him at running back. They have a loaded running back, a crowded backfield there right now, but I think he could emerge as their most talented running back.
Yeah, 100%, man. Totally agree there. Well, that's all the time we have, man. I think the next one that we'll do, either next week or the week after, we'll cover running back share percentage-wise. So we're going to go over which running backs are going to get the highest percentage. Then we're going to go the next guy in the depth chart type thing. I think it's been helpful for a lot of people last year. Got some good feedback of that. So we'll start studying that, Dave, and then we'll probably go maybe we'll get into our actual draft top 36 players, or maybe we'll even go to 48 first 4 rounds or something. We'll see. We'll talk more about that, but we'll definitely find some good tidbits for you guys for next week. Dave, thanks so much for coming on, my man. Really appreciate all your information. Is just fantastic. Have a great rest of your week, buddy.
Thank you. You too. Thanks, everybody.
All right, that was D Nasty. You can follow him at Twitter on D Nasty Fantasy. Thanks everyone for listening to this show. Please rate, review, and subscribe if you like what you hear. Have a great rest of your weekend, and go get some winners.